You're listening to the Trifecta podcast where UFOs, cryptids, and the paranormal collide. Look, I just got that backwards. It's where UFOs, paranormal, and cryptids collide. I like the C's together, you know. This is the official podcast of Rocky Mountain Ranch Research. I am your host, Katie Paige, and I'm so excited because we have L. Sydney Fisher back with us tonight. She is a best-selling author of so many great paranormal spooky story books, and I can't wait to get her back on the show. I'm so happy she was able to do that and squeeze us in again because I was just captivated last time. So very quickly before we do that, I just hope you all are having a wonderful week so far and that your week has been filled with more wonder than worry. It's a crazy time out there, and I hope everybody's hanging in there tonight. Let's see, a couple quick reminders. If you have questions for Sydney, please put the questions in all uppercase so I know that they're questions and we will ask Sydney your questions. And also, if you guys are looking for Christmas gifts or a way to support what we do here at Rocky Mountain Ranch Research, please check out our Patreon page at Patreon at RMRR. Or check out our webpage at RockyMountainRanchResearch.org. I have some cool products out there designed by me, Tubi Guy exclusive shirts from Rocky Mountain Ranch, and other great exclusive designed hoodies and t-shirts and glasses and whatnot. It's a great way to support what we do here, and I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Sydney right on the stage here. How you doing, Sydney?
Hey there. Doing good.
It's wonderful to have you back. Hi, Wizardly. I know I'm excited to hear more of her stories as well. And thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
I added a new fun screen. Yeah, I love Sydney's background too. I'm like, that is awesome. I love the ghost. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So, you know, last time you were here, we kind of got into some of your stories. And first of all, I would just love for the new folks that are just tuning in for the first time, just to give a little background on where you are in the United States, where you grew up, and just kind of a little bit about yourself. And then we're going to dig into some of your books here.
Okay. So I am located in Nashville, Tennessee. I was born, bred in the South, and you can hear that, I'm sure, in my accent. Grew up between Tennessee and North Mississippi as a child. And so I've spent pretty much my entire life living in the South. And a lot of my stories were inspired by stories that maybe I had already heard about or that I was a part of, that I was a witness to. So that's kind of where I am right now. My very first paranormal experience that I would say was legitimate haunting was when I was a child at Lindenwood, and my debut book, The Haunting of Natalie Bradford, is that story. So that's kind of where I am right now.
This is that series right here, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and we touched on that last time you were on, and I want to revisit that because it's unbelievable. And I mean, oh my gosh, what an interesting. I mean, first of all, the South. This is your website here, and I really want to encourage people to check out Sydney's website with all her books and titles and things like that. But I mean, the South just historically is just teeming with paranormal activity, right? You know, so I'm sure that you have witnessed things your whole life, but I really wanted to start with this. So it's called the Phoenix Mission, and I just ran across this. When did these come out? This is a box set, and you can get the box set. There's two of these in the series, the Phoenix Codes and the Phoenix Mission. So can you tell us a little bit about
I
what these
can.
books
Now,
are about?
this is not necessarily a haunting. I completely went sideways when I got into this research. Remember that I love anything unexplained, supernatural mysteries, of course, hauntings. But this actually was inspired by Stargate, the government. It was under the umbrella of the CIA and FBI. back in, let's see, trying to remember exactly the time because it's been a while since I did this research, but in the 1980s. Actually, this was also something that Reagan was a fan of. It started before the 80s. The organization, or not the organization, but the program was a Black Ops program that was actually started. And we funneled about $20 million into this and kept it going for several years. It did not shut down until November. Go figure, we're in November 1998 by Bill Clinton actually shut it down. But what the government was doing, they were training psychic spies, and they used remote viewing to do. And so you're probably familiar with remote viewing. And that's what the book was inspired by, that particular program that was going on during that time. I created a character by the name of Seth Phoenix. He was the top-notch remote viewer. The fun thing about the research with that particular book series was that it took me into the geography of the CIA and the geography of Fort Meade and what it actually looked like around Fort Meade and what the building looked like. And so I reconstructed some of those things when I would have my characters walk inside. I've never been inside this building, so some of it, of course, had to be dramatically, creative license to do. But at the same time, it took me to a little private house, which actually was located, it was a small building that was located near Fort Meade, where they had this secret meetings or whatever, and they had the lab set up. So I reconstructed the lab and a lot of the things in the book to match the real life setups. And so that was extremely interesting. And the second book actually took me to Alaska, and investigating HARP, which was, HARP is used to we're recreating we are deciding how to developing programs. I'll get my thought processes right in a second. Developing programs where we can manipulate weather and whatnot. So that book series took me in that direction. And so it was a fascinating thing. And, years ago, I became so interested in a book called Tell Me What You See. By the real life. And are you familiar with the book? You're not.
I've heard of it. I have not read it, but I've heard of it.
So it was by the number one remote viewer in the that is my dog. If you see my dog, that is I kept thinking, where is that ghost coming from? That is my dog. Oh my goodness. I have a Great Pyrenees, and he just decided to walk in front of the camera. And even got me there for a minute. I was going, wait a minute, I didn't know that it could do that. The ghost was over here and it's moving. That was too funny. And then I saw the tail and I was like, Bo, get out of the picture of the camera. So the book, Tell Me What You See, was written by the top remote viewer of the day. And I was so fascinated by this. And I totally believe in clairvoyance and our abilities to be able to see beyond, just our normal vision abilities, visionary abilities. So that's kind of where that started with that book series. So it's not necessarily, it doesn't have ghosts or anything in it. It's more of a military type thriller.
I have to tell you, it's right up my wheelhouse. And obviously a lot of the work that I've into for the Rocky Mountain Ranch talks about the involvement of Black Access Projects and CIA and this interesting character. And just recently, Sydney, I've been uncovering connections between the Menninger Foundation, the Stargate program, the Gateway Project, the Monroe Institute, and, remote viewing and things like that. And they actually remote viewed David Morehouse, remote viewed the Rocky Mountain Ranch. So the topic to me is just super interesting, almost more interesting than UFOs and aliens and all that, because this is messing with real people's lives, right? They're trying to weaponize remote viewing or weaponizing what the viewers are gathering, the intel from it. And the fact that this has been going on, I mean, really, San Francisco in the 60s, the 70s, and the the 60s counterculture. And then you throw in the Marilyn Manson, and we have to wonder if there's MK Ultra being used in some of these pretty, horrific incidents that have happened in our country and that. So I find it a fascinating topic. And I really love the fact, and I love this about you as a person, that when you go down a rabbit hole, you just like, if you have an idea, you're going to go do it. So you're like, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole of the Stargate program, and you end up in Alaska. And so a lot of your books are really based in factual events. And then you take liberties to kind of create these characters around that.
Right.
And I love that because, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I can just imagine that you're a very intuitive person. So I'm wondering, when you're how long did it take you, first of all, to do this book series?
I would say maybe 7 months on the first one. And then the second one wasn't quite as long because I'd already had a lot of notes, a lot of note taking.
Right.
But when there is a project that I have to, research heavily, it can be a 7-month deal.
Right.
Just to put out one book. And that's working constantly. I'm so sorry about Bo. He wants
I love it. It's the ghost dog. It's perfect.
He wants to go on the balcony. Right. He's a ghost dog.
So when you're working on this book for 7 months and you're talking about Stargate and remote viewing, do you ever get like inspirational downloads, that come to you, or creative inspiration, which is similar to remote viewing, right? I mean, do you have that happen to you as you're writing some of these best-selling novels?
You mean as in ideas?
Yeah, just like downloaded ideas, or where did that come from? Kind of thing.
Constantly. It never shuts up. So yes, it can be actually annoying at times. It comes in a lot often, and it could be something random. and,
right.
and a lot of I used to take I had a voice activated recorder that was on a chain, or not a chain but a cord, and I wore it around my neck like a necklace. So I would be driving and something would hit me, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I can't write that down, I'm going to forget it. So I would just say talk into the recorder and save it for later and play it back, and then I could make some notes and things. So it's luckily I have paper and notebooks and things everywhere now on my desk, and I'm just real quick to put things down on paper so that I don't forget them. So I've got book titles coming out, the yin yang. And so
that's such a great idea it's such a great idea to do that. And I'm wondering if you can kind of speak to the audience about, when you get these I call them downloads. I don't know what you call them, but kind of like downloads from the ethers. How does a person, because I feel like we all probably do that, have moments of information that just kind of come out of nowhere, and whoa. Did you have to learn to distinguish your own thoughts and your own voice from, thoughts or, inspiration from elsewhere? And if so, how did you learn to kind of differentiate between the two? Like what is your own and what's divine or divine inspiration, I guess?
Usually there's other signs that go along with the divine
That's a good point.
speakings, or God speak, as I call it. I call it God speak. Usually there'll be some other sign, or um, it will be something that I've been grappling with, let's say. Uh, Maybe a title for a book, or let's say a character's name. And then all of a sudden, I will have an aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's beyond me, that is divine. That's God speak going on. Um, because when I'm sometimes stuck on something, I can sit at the desk forever, and I'm having to open multiple windows on the computer if I am researching a particular thing, or looking, let's say, for what I've been doing recently, looking for names for characters for this
Mm-hmm.
new series that I'm going to be working on, starting the first of the year. And so I'm still a little bit stuck on my main character's name. I'm not 100% sure,
Mm-hmm.
but um, almost. I had named her, but then I had decided, do I really want that first name? I've got the surname in place, but
Right.
it's important. The whole thing, you'll understand once the series starts. It's kind of important. Her name is important because she is like a remote viewer. She has some supernatural abilities. Not anything that fantasy, not anything, things that you could believe, but she is in a black ops program with the CIA. Wouldn't you know it?
Ooh, all
Would
right.
have to, she would have to be. So yeah, I can't wait to have a lot of fun with her. I named her Gabby Beckett. Uh,
Mm.
so, and yep, I named her Gabby Beckett. But I'm going to have a lot of fun with her. She's going on a lot of adventures. Think the X Files. Remember the old
Yep.
television? Think that, but better and
So are
today.
you gonna weave into, and just like, your books here too, the Stargate program, Phoenix Mission, and the Phoenix Codes? Is there any connections to UFOs in any of these stories? I mean, you mentioned X-Files, Gabby. Are these tied together? Some of these CIA projects?
She will the future character will be involved in some UFO type investigations. She will. But
Cool.
she will also be involved in unsolved murders,
Ooh.
uh, hauntings. She'll be involved in Nobody's Steal Gabby Beckett, by the way. We got any
No,
writers out there?
this we have
uh,
copyrights on it, so
that's right. Um, so, but she will be involved in those, but there'll be some. She'll be going to some places that you all already know about, but
right.
you'll see that there is additional things that are coming about. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to dive into it. The whole thing about, you remember that show 411,
Mhm.
Missing 411?
Right. Yep. David Pilates. Yep.
Yeah, he kind of started, this the whole premise to, there's like thousands of people that go missing in Alaska.
Right.
Is that UFO related?
Or cryptid. My cryptids. Ah. No, I mean,
Or
you know, I think Alaska is so remote and so vast. The X Files filmed in Vancouver many times. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the X Files was filmed in Vancouver. How cool is that?
That's
Somebody
cool.
from Canada. Hi, Canada. Oh, here's a question, and then we'll get back to missing people in Alaska. Have you heard anything about poison animals? Some family had a poltergeist, and it all started with their dogs walking around on 2 legs. Could that explain Dogman? Ooh, that's kind of creepy. Oh,
Yeah.
possessed, not poison, possessed animals.
So,
Like a skinwalker.
so spirits are the negative spirits, we'll say, are looking for a host, whether
Right.
that is human, the Annabelle doll, or I
Yeah.
had to say it because what the question was, is it possible? And I'm thinking if a doll can be possessed, so can an animal be possessed? Absolutely.
I think
I
my
just
dad had a cat named Precious, and Precious was anything but precious, and I think that cat was possessed.
yeah.
And he lived in a very haunted house. So yeah, I agree with you. I
Wow.
think animals
I
definitely
just think,
can.
I just think that negative entities have the ability to manipulate and to control sometimes. It's all about looking for a host, and there's 3 stages of possession and that type of thing. So
What
it
are
can
the
be
3 stages of possession?
so it starts with an infestation, oppression, and then the possession. So
Ugh.
the infestation is like in some of these locations that I investigated. When I was into paranormal investigations, and I did that for about 4 years with a team, there were places that we went that honestly I wish I had not gone, and I think I had told you that before. It just there was an infestation, and even though I have been a paranormal researcher my entire life, um, I necessarily wasn't that investigator until that time when I decided to recruit professional investigators. I was not conjuring these
Mhm.
spirits. And just what you're doing when you're in a paranormal investigation, you're trying to lure them out so that you
Mhm.
can collect evidence and that kind of thing. So you
Right.
never know what you're actually
Right.
speaking
Uh,
to.
Yeah. Has doing these investigations changed your thoughts on the afterlife or the soul or, death in general? How has that changed your perception on these things?
It has not changed my perception or my opinion on the afterlife, as in where we're going to go, you know, what
Mhm.
happens once the soul leaves the body. It has made me, let's say, it has basically served as additional validation for what I already knew, but I didn't know. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
so I knew this just based on my own experiences, living in haunted houses, living with being a clairvoyant over the years, coming to the realization that I wasn't having just dumb luck. Everywhere I moved to, I'd move into a haunted house. And for a long time, I thought, oh my God, why does this keep happening to me?
So do you think
Um,
it was attached to you, or were you
no.
just able to okay, so explain how
Okay.
that works then?
Okay. So if you are a sensitive, if
Mhm.
you are an intuitive, if you are a clairvoyant, it doesn't matter. These are abilities that are with you and they follow you every day.
That's
You
right.
with me?
Mhm.
Okay. So no matter where you go, you're always going to sense otherworldly energy, regardless. You could move into a house that your neighbors moved out of, and you could move in behind them and they would say, well, we never had anything happen,
Right.
never experienced anything. But you move in, and within weeks you are witnessing paranormal activity. You are the portal.
Yeah, I agree that. And do you believe then that if you have 2 people, I'll just say that hopefully here in the near future, next year, Sydney and I are gonna maybe meet at the Stanley Hotel, right? And so
Right.
you being a sensitive and me being a sensitive, if you have more than one person who is kind of attuned to these kind of things? Does it amplify it? So are we going to like be inundated, the two of us together? Is it going to turn up the volume?
It does turn up the volume, and I know that this is hard for some people to understand who don't understand these things. Just keep in mind that I wasn't born knowing all of this. It's taken a lifetime of research and of learning things myself and coming into my own place. So when I say too, let me clarify this. When I say too that you are a portal, I don't mean that you are something that you can't go anywhere, that something's always going to be attached to you.
Right.
That's not what I mean. I mean that wherever you go, you're like a magnet for sensing otherworldly energy. And so it wouldn't matter where you actually went. Just like when we go to the Stanley Hotel, you can walk into a room, and if the energy is strong enough in that room, you're going to sense it. I may see it, hear it, smell it. You may feel it. It just depends on what your particular gifts are. But yes, to answer your question, does this make a difference whenever there's a room full of clairvoyants? It can. It most definitely can. And it validates what you're seeing and feeling and those type of things. Just like something happened last night to me when I visited. Well, I went to a lecture, a Native American lecture. It was absolutely wonderful here in my hometown. And I had never been in this particular building that was built in the early 1800s. And all of a sudden, just my attention started to drift. And I started looking at the walls and the ceiling and things, and I could feel, that something was there. So I go downstairs and I said, this was a hotel at some time. This was maybe an Airbnb, but no, it's never been a hotel. It was it was a jail. And I said, okay, I can see that now, but I said, that's not what I feel. I said, there is a female spirit here. And she actually is wearing, she has a cotton dress on, and it has these tiny little blue flowers on it. And she's got the high collar. She's a brunette, but not a dark brunette like me. Excuse me. And she is very sad and aggravated too about something. But I started feeling like that she was running a brothel there. So I asked them, I said, this has never been a hotel ever. Well, actually, before the jail was here, there was a hotel here. I said, bingo, bingo.
What do you think? I mean, we all hear the tropes, that ghosts have unfinished business. They have trauma that they, she's hanging around for some reason. Is that almost always the case, or are there like rules on why certain spirits stick around locations? I mean, what are your thoughts on this through all the years of doing paranormal work at these historic locations and that, or maybe, I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I have even heard more recently that there are spirits who feel like that they don't deserve to go into the light. So they stick around.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And that's something, you don't hear very often, but wow, that's true. Like we hear growing up that we're going to face judgment, or we're going to sometimes, you hear that we're going to go feel every hurt, every pain that we've ever caused another human being. And if that's true, then that would make sense that there's going to be some people hesitant to go through that judgment. And so maybe that's why they stick around. That's really interesting. And on the flip side of that, for people who are intuitive and sensitive, and I've often thought about this too, with just why do certain people, see UFOs or encounter ghosts or even the cryptids? And oftentimes there's a disassociation piece. Is that true And what do you believe that makes people more sensitive and intuitive if they've gone through traumas themselves, and or remote viewed or those kind of things? Do you think that helps people become more intuitive?
It definitely can. Those are life altering experiences that they've had.
Right.
So they're not only are they more open to strangers that they sit down next to on the park bench and
Right.
have a totally non-judgmental conversation with a complete and total stranger, because they can open up and they talk about things that they have experienced. I've even had that happen to myself just a few months ago, with a lady that I'd never seen before in my life, but she and I had the best conversation, and she was going through some very traumatic times. But yes, I think that it can. I will tell you that a lot of psychics or people that are intuitives, it is an innate gift that they have inherited, and it's typically seen in the mother's line, in the
Oh,
maternal line. So if you
that's
had a grandmother, an aunt, your own mother, a great grandmother that was a medicine woman, so to speak, things like that, it's more probable that that's where your gift come from. Is that always the case? No, but it is seen a lot on the maternal side.
how interesting is that? That would be
Hmm.
true with my mother as well. All right,
Yep.
good to know. We're going to shift gears a little bit here and talk about this wonderful book of yours, See No Evil, and a supernatural legacy that he couldn't escape. So tell us about this book here. Was
So
murder.
this is about a man that we called that was called the Mississippi Mystic. His name was
Oh,
Seymour Prater. He was born in the late 1800s, lived in the early 20th century. Seems like there was about 10 years difference between him and someone else you may know, Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, if you've ever heard of Edgar Casey.
mm-hmm.
So Seymour Prater was he used to refer to himself as the man with the radio mind. And he would say, that our minds are transistors. They're transistor radios. So that information that clairvoyants receive and images and things, that may be a really good way of explaining what's actually happening from, let's say, a scientific explanation. Is it You're a transistor radio and you're receiving information from another place. But he actually lived in a town called Pontotoc, Mississippi, that actually was the home of the Chickasaw Nation, Native Americans, one of the
Mm-hmm.
five major tribes. And he lived there, and people from all over would come to him if their child was missing, if they remember, this time frame was the early part of the 20th century. So if they lost cattle, if they lost horses, that kind of thing, even if you lost your wedding ring. There are some stories that are in the back of the book, real life stories that are in that section after you read the story, about a lot of different cases that he was involved in. But this book is a little bit of creative nonfiction. Seymour Prater was involved in helping a family get closure after this man was murdered inside his store. And he was murdered by the people that came up behind him, murdered him with it was like a blade, something that you cut boxes open with. So it was bad. And when they found him, he still had a piece of peppermint candy in his hand. He was happened about 10:30 at night, but there were no eyewitnesses. So this family traveled several miles and came to Seymour Prater's house and said, "Can you please help us? Can you tell me who murdered, my brother, Arthur Floyd?" Arthur Floyd was a real person, and his names are the names in the book are used as the real people. But they were able to give him some closure.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was an amazing story. Now that took about 7 or 8 months on
Right.
that project. Yeah, it was a fascinating story.
So we
Fascinating
have
story.
that sounds amazing, and I think it's a a wonderful gift, and so many people, and I've heard that we can help solve these murders. I would love. I'm sure this person's no longer with us, or is he? Does he? No, he wouldn't be.
Oh no, no.
No, no,
He
long gone,
passed.
long gone.
Yeah, he's been gone for a long time.
Right.
Died in the middle of
Yeah.
the
I
yeah.
would love to see more cold cases utilize psychics,
Me too.
to
Yep.
help solve these
Yes.
cold. Well, my big sister had a friend that went missing years ago, and it's still unsolved. So I'm all about
Wow.
doing that. Yeah. So Brian here asks a question: have either of you used? And I know I haven't. So Sydney, have you used? And I don't know how to pronounce this. Kozyrev mirror. Was a Russian physicist. I'm planning to make one. I'm not sure what that is. Do you know what that is? Not a
I'm
sense.
not familiar with it, but it's
No.
interesting that he brought up a Russian physicist. In the Phoenix series, there was Nina, and I can't even pronounce her last name right now. It's left me. But during the time that our government was involved in Stargate, Russia had their own as well.
Oh,
Oh, yes. And she was a renowned um, psychic, or let's say, I don't know if I'd even call her a remote viewer. She was able to move objects. So
okay.
it was amazing. Yeah.
So
Collagina, I think was the way her last name was, Nina Collagina. If you go to medium.com and look up L. Sidney Fisher, you can find some articles that I wrote about this.
thank you there. Yeah, that's fascinating. And so Wizardly put up what one of these is, speaking of the physicist in the mirror. And what blows my mind about this, speaking of having like downloads and that, I actually for like 3 months, I kept getting this thing about making this aluminum plate, and I'll bring it when we go to Stanley, Sydney. And it had a spiral on it, and it's made out of aluminum with these crystals. And then in my download, I also like put it in water, vibrate a certain frequency, and it would help amplify things. And it sounds like maybe what this mirror they're talking about is. So, I mean, it kind of reminds me of looking into, or like, have you seen Lord of the Rings series? And he's taken Frodo up with Gladriel into the water, and you can kind of see, the future, how it could go or whatever. And it sounds like maybe that's what that mirror does. And I've heard of other like in different hauntings, or especially in historical old locations like haunted hotels and things like that, that some people will even cover the mirrors because spirits can go in and out of mirrors, or you can see apparitions in mirrors. Have you ever encountered anything like that? And why would that maybe be happening? That's kind of like, does it act as a doorway or something?
It's believed that it acts as a portal. It's said don't hang mirrors across from windows or
Oh.
next to windows. Yeah, it's now those are superstitions. They say, yeah, well, start looking around and make.
Like, do I have
But I will tell you that we were investigating a place down in South Mississippi a few years ago, and the strangest mirror that was picked up by the owner of the house. He loved to go to estate sales, so he would come in with all types of antiques and things, and you realize that all of these things do have energy.
Yeah,
um
that's kind of
there's
example.
imprints. Yeah, there's imprints. Even when we get up out of these chairs, we're going to leave behind an energy imprint. It's someone who is very, very intuitive can come behind you and sit down. And if they're really, really talented, they can feel what you were feeling at that moment.
Mm.
So very interesting by reading your energy. Um, so the thing is with the mirrors, we actually photographed what I believe was, or what we all believed. I mean, it was there. It was the image of a woman, and when I say it was the image of the. I mean, it almost looked like the ghost in the background, but not, not white and all that. But
Right.
it was that formed. It was
Wow.
that formed, and we couldn't believe it. I have that picture. I should get it together, some of these pictures, if we do this again, and show you some of these pictures.
Yeah, you can send it to me and I can always add it to the description on the YouTube channel just below. So, for you folks watching, maybe you can check back and we'll try and get that picture up for you here. Speaking of that, when you go with teams or on ghost hunts, do you bring equipment with you as well, or do you kind of just let it flow through you?
No, we had all types of equipment that we used on investigations. Um, you know, eh, to whether it be spirit box sessions that we would do, and we would use also the goodness, why can't I even think about this stuff? The electromagnetic field detectors, the
Like the
EMT
K2 meter.
detectors.
Yes.
Yes, the K2 meters. I don't know why I've just got a blank. So we had tons of that stuff, cameras, all types of things. Um, I'm reading,
Yeah.
well, communication with the deceased and enclosed space with a mirror, chair, and dim lighting. Okay, so that must have been what Sarah Winchester was doing in that room. I
Mm.
just got back from a trip to San Jose, California, and visited the Winchester house.
Oh, wow. Tell me about that. I've been, but I
Oh my,
was quite young. I was like 12 years old, so I don't.
oh my God. Oh my God is all I've got to say. Look, the Conjuring house in Rhode Island did not bother me as bad as the Winchester house.
Wow.
Now, there's a reason. This is and I don't want to seem like I am being negative, but let me just say that when I went into the Winchester house, I felt angry. I
Mm.
don't know why I felt angry, but I was so angry by the time I got out of there that I didn't even go to the gardens to see the gardens. I just left. Here's why I think, for one thing, there was everything that you've seen in pictures. It is all that. It was the stairways to nowhere, the doors. I mean, it was legitimately dangerous to be
Mhm.
walking. If you did not know where you were going with a tour guide, you should not have been inside that house.
Mm.
I felt like, and she was only 4 foot 11 inches tall. She was tiny. So, but I felt every single emotion that she felt in her life. I think I took it on.
Oh, wow.
Um, I will tell you that they took us into the room where she would go every night at midnight. Nobody else was allowed in the room. Nobody could even peek inside the door to see what it looked like. It was completely off limits to anyone else that lived or was on the premises of the Winchester mansion when she was alive. And you could go to this room, you open her bedroom door, you walk through a little hall, and you go into the room. And so the walls were like blue. There
Chill.
were iron bars. There were iron bars on the two windows. And the reason that the iron bars were on the window is because she believed, or she was told, that keeps the bad spirits out from being able to come through. Here's the thing, though: if she was conjuring spirits all the time, every day for 30 years, she built inside this house. It never stopped. worked 24 hours a day for 30 years. What a waste of money. I'm just thinking, and total, listen, if once a room was built, she decided that something else needed to go there to be put there, the construction crew would have to tear it all out. So if you just finished a project, you tear it all out and you start over.
Do you think she's still in the house spiritually?
Yes, they've seen her, but I will tell you this, like one of the people that was in my group, she and I agreed that we couldn't get a good read on her. I think the read that I got was a very traumatized and confused and a person. So this is a story where psychics can be bad. After her husband died, and she lost her child a few years before that at 6 weeks old. So that kind of, it was the only child she had. The child died when she was 6 weeks old. It was a little girl. And then her husband died years later, and she kind of went off the deep end. A psychic told her, remember the time period that we're dealing with here. This was the age of spiritualism in the 19th century. So a psychic told her that that she was cursed, and that the reason she was cursed was because her husband was the manufacturer of all those Winchester rifles that had killed so many people. Right. So the only way that she would ever appease the spirits was if she built rooms in her house to confuse them. So for the next 30 years, that's what she did. And look, I totally believe in clairvoyance and psychic abilities and all that. But what that lady did to Sarah Winchester was not only irresponsible, it was cruel.
Yeah. I mean, it's cruel, and it's the power of belief too.
She believed it.
She believed that and acted upon it. And it kind of drove her crazy in a way. I mean, anybody who does that is emotionally unstable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so sad. So when you walk in and let's say you're in the Winchester house and you're feeling angry, how do you shake that off? How do you?
I just shook it off. I was going up so many different stairs, and this was a tiny, tiny woman. And I'm not a big, huge person, but I'm like 5'3". She was 4'11" and probably weighed less than 100 pounds. She was very little, and the hallways or the spaces that she walked were so narrow. You should have seen the whole group.
I'm 5'7.5". I'd be ducking. I'd be like,
you should have seen the whole group of all of us. There was probably 30 of us in this group, and we were all going up these little bitty stairs that she had built, for her. And she got arthritis in her later years. And so she built what they were called like riser stairs. And it was bizarre, but it was a three-story house that started out as just a small Victorian home with maybe 9 or 10 rooms. And it had 160 rooms.
Wow.
160.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's huge. So do you think for a lot of these spirits that are in these locations, and I know there's places across the country and around the world that are more actively spiritually speaking, that is, battlefields and things like that. Do you think, like in the case of Winchester, is there a way to release her, or have people tried this? Or do you think a lot of these spirits want to stay and want to remain where they are, and they're just there like forever and ever? And that to me is such a crazy thing to think about, because is that like all eternity she's going to be hanging around the Winchester house or whatever spirits are there? Or can we release them? How does that work?
It's my understanding that if they want to go, they'll go. And sometimes it's very difficult to get rid of them. They have to be willing to move on.
Right.
There are places that I have been that I don't even think tearing it down would help. There's situations where people have lived in haunted places that at the end of the day, you just have to say, look, do you want peace in your life?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, how, or what? I mean, just get out, for God's sakes. Get away from it. There was a place that literally it had to be abandoned. There had been 3 priests that had been there and had performed, tried to bless the property and that kind of thing. And it didn't help. It was absolutely a nightmare. So, and there was a demonic presence there, and still is. Um, there still is.
Yeah.
In that
So Wizard,
location, there's still reports.
right. Wizardly asked a great question. Do these happenings have lasting effects on you? And also
Uh,
on top of that, I'm going to piggyback on that question. If you could pick to get historical research or archives on any paranormal case, which would that be too? Or do you have like a bucket list?
I do have a bucket list. But you know what? Um, I don't know why. And I realize that there is, alternating views or opposing views of what actually happened. But look, I've always been fascinated with the Amityville horror.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you this. There is no way. Yes, that guy was on drugs. I totally get it. And he
Yeah.
shot all of his family up. I get it. But that kind of trauma in that house has
Mhm.
to leave a mark.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That was Deferno, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah, Deferno.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And that kind of
Um,
trauma, so like Wizardly, like these kind of happenings not only have a lasting effect on the house, but do you think they've had, all the research you've done, all the books you've written, all the investigations, has it had a lasting effect on you personally? And if so, what effect?
okay, so if it has had to answer that question in 2 parts, do I have attachments? Hell no. Uh, hell no. Um, look, I tell you, I do everything I could do. I am a Christian. And so that is my belief. And I go into these places loaded up with all of the symbolism I can take with me and blessing all and all of these good things. But so as far as does it have a lasting effect? Most definitely, as far as sometimes I'll sit around and go, why did I even go there? I wish I had because that place was just too, messed up. And then I'll think about the 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 families the
Right.
families that have been affected by this stuff and how terrible it is. And there are multiple things going on in some of these locations. There is drug abuse, there's addictive personalities, there's addictions, there
Mhm.
is other types of things, financial troubles. There's always answers sometimes to some particular hauntings
Right.
that are going on.
Do you think by going to some of those locations like Sydney, you're like, why am I even here? But can a person like you go in and affect change and maybe lighten the negativity or lighten those situations, locations? And if so, how can we do that to help these locations that are kind of negative and have these kind of bad things that occur often?
So you can, you can be hopeful that you can do that, but you've also got to realize that when you are doing investigations and you're going into haunted places, if you're, as most paranormal investigators are just there to collect evidence of the
Mm.
afterlife. That's what they're there for.
Right.
Um, okay. So if you've shifted gears and you've decided that your mission is now to spread joy and light to haunted places. Okay. First of all, how are you going to discern that the spirit that you are dealing with is earthbound
Mm.
or is it supernatural?
Right.
Is it a lower vibrational being? So unless you are equipped with the type of training, as in through ministry, through the Catholic Church, as a demonologist, that kind of thing, you really should be very careful about deciding that you're going to cast evil out or you cleanse areas. We can do the rituals to cleanse the areas. We can burn the sage. We can do different things. But beyond that, what are you going to do? What can you do? And so I am not trained as a demonologist to do those type things. And there are situations where I have recommended to families, you need to call your minister. This is beyond what I can do for you.
Yeah, that's
And
smart.
so,
And that's really good advice too.
yes,
Really good advice.
when furniture is moving halfway across the room,
get
and
out.
it's more than 10 pounds, it's time to go. And I am not, when someone tells me this stuff is going on, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I'm not, no.
That's really good advice. This hour flew by again. I want to encourage people to check out Sydney's website for sure, see all her publications. Sydney, if there's one like story you would love to write that is controversial and maybe has kept you from writing, what would it be? Like, do you have any stories like
that? Honestly, to tell you the God's honest truth, it is the book I just finished writing. Right now, it is in the hands of the agent, and it is called The Bridge, and it's a memoir of basically my life with the paranormal and my near-death experience, walking into the light. I almost drowned. I was drowning. And so how that changed me, how the clairvoyance and the abilities became heightened after the near-death experience. So those things are explored in my book called The Bridge. And it took a long time to write it, just because when you write about yourself, you bleed. You bleed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be brave, and you have to hope that people won't be judgmental and those type things. And so, and I am, even though I may appear as an extrovert, I am totally an introvert.
Me too.
But I love small groups. When I am with the right circle of folks, I will just like with you, it's just you and I tonight, and I'm having a wonderful time. And so I'll just talk. But if I'm in a big group of people, I'm the one sitting at the back of the room.
I get that. I'm that way too. Maybe that's why we knew each other's soul right away, because I'm the same
Right away.
way.
But I'm also a writer who has always wanted to marry Indiana Jones.
Oh, right.
So I love archaeology
Adventure
and history. So, yeah.
Speaking of history, if you could spend the night in one haunted place, where would it be? That you haven't been yet, because I know you've been to a lot.
So definitely want to do the Stanley Hotel.
Okay, we're going to check
I
that
would love,
and
that's doable because you can spend the night there.
Right.
I tell you, I've got a trip planned to the Biltmore Mansion.
Oh.
This month in Asheville, North Carolina. That's been on my radar to go there. You can't spend the night there, but I'm going to tour it. And it's supposedly very haunted. So we will find out.
So more inspiration for books. And when is The Bridge coming out? Because you're right. When you write something so personal, I've been dealing with that with Rocky Mountain Ranch too. You do bleed. It's very personal. But I can't wait to read that. And when will that be coming out?
It actually is in the agent's hands.
Okay.
So it's very preliminary. So it will be several months, but I am working on some other projects that hopefully will be out just within 4 or 5 months. So I'll have something out there. But hopefully the Gabby Beckett series. Can psychedelics enhance your psychic abilities? Probably, maybe, but I will tell you about my personal opinion about using recreational drugs or anything at all when you are doing paranormal investigations. It's a no-no.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. I don't use, this is just me, not being approved. It's everyone's prerogative, but I personally, other than an occasional glass of wine every now and then, a nice Moscato, I do not partake of recreational drugs because I don't like that feeling. And I don't like not being able to be in control of what's
Right, I was just
actually.
gonna say, it probably opens
Yes.
you up to even more. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
oh man, this hour flew by. I wanna thank you so much, and
You're
I'm telling
welcome.
you, when these new books come out, we're gonna have you back on again. I just love chit-chatting with you. It's fascinating. I learned so much. And I know the audience loves it. I want to thank you all for being here. Please check out Sydney's website again. Next week, we're going to have Wednesday Night Live. We're going to have none other than James Keenan from Blind Frog Ranch. So we'll be talking all things high strangeness. And again, everybody out there, have a fantastic rest of your week. Sydney, thank you for being here. And we're going to do
Thank
this again
you.
in a few more months. So everybody have a great week. Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye bye.
Good night.